Could come forward, please. Is Jean in? There she comes. All right. I'm going to put you on the spot for a moment. So this is going to be the final tally of the foundation and the club's commitment to being in this hall for our lease for about 90 years. So at this point, we'd like to present the final check, which is the final tally of $1,450,000 to the players. So.
And for those who are unaware, my guests today are actually active board members of the Manatee Players who are here today to welcome all of you. So I'd like them to stand again and be recognized.
And yeah, I'm the incoming president here, so I wanted to take just a moment. I mean, it's pretty exciting to be here. You know, thinking about this, I've been thinking a lot about, you know, of course, that incoming president. What are you going to do? What's going to be your big goal? What's going to be your, you know, your item, if you will, that everyone, you know, focuses on for you? And of course, everyone talks about membership, and I feel like I've had something teed up pretty easily for me now with, I think, you know, originally my checklist for having great membership growth next year was 3 things. Great programs, which we've got a dream team now set up for that. Bob Enberg and Judge Nicholas are going to be heading that up, so we're going to have some awesome programs next year. And a most impactful and inspiring service projects. Christmas in August was a huge success, and I know it'll continue to be. And a top-notch facility. I mean, this is fabulous. This is really inspiring. I think will help to inspire a lot of people to join membership. So with that said, I don't think our speaker today needs much of an introduction. I think most of you know him, but I'll do the honors here. Bill was elected to his first term in the Florida Senate in November of 2012. He currently serves as the chairman of Appropriations Subcommittee on Education. In addition, Bill serves as a member of the following committees: Rules, Full Appropriations, Agriculture, Education, Appropriations Subcommittee on Health and Human Services, Health Policy, Regulated Industries and Gaming. Bill also served 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. In his final term in the Florida House, Galvano served as chairman of the Rules and Calendar Council, chairman of the Select Committee on Seminole Indian Compact Review, and chairman of the Select Committee on Standards of Professional Conduct. He also served on the Full Appropriations Council and the Joint Legislative Budget Commission. Bill was elected in Manatee County Public School System, was educated, in the Manatee County Public School System, where he met his wife, the former Julie Ann Forrester. Currently living in Bradenton, Bill and Julie have been married for 19 years and are the 20, again, I gotta get an update on that. And are the proud parents of 3 children, Michael, William, and Jacqueline, who I think you all remember. William was here, I think it was last year or the year before, as the 4-H Tropicana speaker winner, which Bill told me 34 years ago. Was that right?
Yeah, we did it 34 years apart.
Yeah, 34 years apart. So that's great. It was an honor to have him here as well. Bill has been a member here of Kiwanis for 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a warm Kiwanis welcome to Senator Bill Galvano. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeb and Mr. President. Thank you. This is really an exciting time to be here today in this new arena for our Kiwanis activities. I know I'm excited. I'm actually very honored that you would have me as your program today. Kiwanis has meant a lot to me. It really, really has. I'm very proud when I think about the work that Kiwanis does worldwide, the impact that it has in this community, and really the lives that are changed by Kiwanis. As you heard, I joined 20 years ago. So I've been in Kiwanis for 20 years. Now, in 1993 I joined. 1995 I did come about this close to getting kicked out of the club. And that was because as the chair of Sweetheart Night, I thought it might be a lot of fun to have the late night host of the Comedy Store on the Sunset Strip in LA come to Bradenton and entertain the good folks of Kiwanis. Not everybody agreed with that decision. And I knew I was in trouble when he got up and started out and he said, "This is a very special moment for me personally. It marks 100 days without alcohol." And then when everybody started to acknowledge it, he goes, no, not in a row. And so it just went on from there. But anyway, I survived it and have continued to enjoy being a member. Politically, this club, this downtown club, has a tremendous amount to offer. It has made a tremendous impact in a lot of what goes on politically and policy-wise in this community, in this region, and frankly, on occasion, in the state. I remember as a candidate in 2002, one of the most pivotal points of the campaign was when we had the Kiwanis debate. And that was a huge threshold to running for office. And then as a young member of the House of Representatives, or a freshman member of the House of Representatives, to be able to come back and address this august body was really a milestone then in my early legislative career. And so here I am, again, frankly humbled and honored to be speaking to you for the first time as your state senator. And so I thought I'd start by sharing with you, those of you who have lives and haven't studied the districts in detail, exactly what district you're in and what it encompasses, because it's different than what you have had with Senator Bennett, who has done a fine job, and also I see Senate President McKay out here today, which is quite an honor for me because he's been a tremendous influence in my career. John, you deserve a round of applause. But the district number 26 starts in southern Hillsborough County, Sun City, Ruskin, the whole southern Hillsborough area, and then comes into Manatee County and pretty much encompasses all of Manatee. And then it encompasses all of Hardee County, all of DeSoto County, southern Highlands County, all of Glades County, and northern Charlotte. So you can imagine this is quite a vast piece of real estate that you share with my other constituents. In fact, if you were to start driving south and east from Sun City Center, once you reach the shore of Lake Okeechobee, you would still be in Senate District 26, which I represent. So there's been a bit of a acclimation process for me there, but I again have found that the goals and the dreams and the desires of my constituents are fairly similar regardless of where they are. There may be tweaking in the application, but what people want from government and the responsibility from government remains the same. You also heard about my committees. Now I'll tell you, I had requested to be on rules because I was the rules chair in the House of Representatives, and on gaming because I spent so much of my career towards the end dealing with that issue head on as the lead negotiator for the entire legislature on the Seminole Indian Gaming Compact. What I wasn't ready for was when Senate President Gates, who by the way has done a great job, met with me in, I guess it was November, it was after the election, and said, look, I'm thinking of doing something different. I want to put pre-K, kindergarten through 12, workforce, the college system, and the university system under one budget silo, effectively 51% of the general revenue budget. And he said, Bill, I'd like you to chair it. And of course I said, yes, you don't say no to the president, right? John, he knows that. But it was quite an undertaking for me, to be very frank with you. There were a lot of moving parts, a lot that I had to learn, although I was familiar with the appropriations process, had served in the House, had been on conference, but this was a real focused approach. So together with that and the 9 committees, and I also had a few projects on the side, plus this expansive district, it's been a very busy time for me since November. But it has been productive, and I'm very pleased with my time in the Senate thus far, and very pleased with where we went in our very first session. I can tell you that having spent the time I have in the legislature and watching both bodies, this session seemed to be one of the most bipartisan, open, effective sessions we've seen in a long time. And I believe the words I'm using are not even my own. I think I read those in the Sun Sentinel. And that was very, very true, and it wasn't true of even the year prior. And we got out of the gate addressing some very big issues. Ethics reform was top of the list, making sure there was more transparency, looking at the committees that politicians used, how they were reporting, and then looking at the actual elections process to make sure that we were no longer, like we have been for so many cycles, for lack of a better phrase, the laughing stock when it comes to how we effectively run our elections. And just by footnote, I think you all, when you see Representative Jimmy Boyd, need to give him a pat on the back, because he took this issue head on in the House. He was the chairman of the committee under whose jurisdiction these issues came, and really did a phenomenal job. In addition to those issues, as I mentioned, I'm on the gaming committee. We're also looking at gaming comprehensively and continue to do so, but as part of that, we clarified some of the legislative intent that existed presently with regard to internet cafes and the arcade facilities that we had seen coming up and around not just this community, but really throughout the 67 counties that Ronnie was talking about. And the point here was not to, despite what you may read, not to ban something that was legal, but was to re-emphasize what was not legal, and to also give some directions to our law enforcement and our prosecutors. From a children and family standpoint, foster kids did tremendous this session. Nancy Dietert, who's just south of here, is quite a player. I said on occasion, she might get MVP of the session, in my opinion, for the work she did with foster kids and also for safety in general, having the courage to push forward the texting and driving bill, which a lot of us were skeptical about, especially when you're on I-10 going to Tallahassee. But because of her work, people will be safe, lives will be saved. From an economic development standpoint, one great example is the manufacturing legislation that we did successfully. In fact, we were going to have a bill signing at Tropicana. It was a bill that myself and Jimmy Boyd worked on, but due to some of the protests, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, we decided not to have the bill signing. From a budget standpoint, we did really in 2 months what Washington has been unable to do in 4 years. And that's really a shame with regard to the federal government. But part of the reason is because we have to, at the state of Florida. We are required to balance our budget. We are required to make ends meet, just like you do in your homes and in your businesses. We had a budget that was more robust than it has been in many years, and this was true without increasing taxes to raise revenues. In fact, we just are enjoying the tax relief holiday that we were able to bring back. And we still, though, were able to fund priorities. Economic development in the state budget did very well, close to $1 billion, and included funding for facilities in our area. You saw on the front page of the paper today, the Benderson Rowing facility is a great example. We funded agriculture at a rate that it needed to be funding, stepping up on the issue of greening. And for those of you who are not very familiar with this was a major issue for me as a member of the Senate, but should be for all of us, and certainly in the state economy. The battle that our agricultural community, the citrus industry, is having with greening. I mean, they are the spine of our state. Certainly we have our tourist industry around the perimeter, and of course Mickey Mouse in the middle, but we have to make sure to support them. We were able to put an additional $9 million just for research, close to $9.6 billion in infrastructure, transportation, and other needs to bring the state together. From an education standpoint, and that's the budget that I oversaw with my committee, I'm very pleased to tell you that we increased funding for education by $1.6 billion. That is a tremendous increase from where we have been in recent years. That includes $1 billion in K through 12. That includes specifically addressing issues like classroom supplies. To me, that was vitally important because I wanted to make sure we line itemed it and had dollars that went into the classrooms. Of course, that also includes the raise issue that you read so much about, but it goes way, way beyond that. And then in addition, we had to focus on and include funds for safety. Now, this was something that I wasn't expecting to be so prominent in the workings of my committee, but we entered session on the heels of Sandy Hook, and we all remember that horrible, horrible tragedy that took place that December. And so we spent a good bit of time studying to make sure we are spending the money where we need to make sure the kids that go into our schools are safe. And we also funded an assessment for that purpose. From a university standpoint, $300+ million, and also the college system we addressed. There are some unfinished business items. One of them is the Affordable Care Act and how we address that issue at the state level. We've been grappling with it between the chambers and within the chambers, and obviously Washington continues to grapple with that as well. I mentioned gaming. The gaming issue will continue to be looked at because we have a time constraint within the Seminole Indian Compact. We have to decide by 2015 whether or not we're going to allow them to continue to operate banked card games, obviously in exchange for dollars that are coming back to us. But when I did that negotiation, in lieu of litigation, we said, let's do it for 5 years. You have it for 5 years where it is, no expansion. You pay us a minimum of $1 billion with a greater than formula going in towards the end. So that has to be looked at. And then, of course, you all have been watching the news with the Stand Your Ground issue and the protests that are going on there. I recently read that the House Speaker said that he wants to take a look at the issue. I frankly don't believe you're going to see a change there. I was there when that law went into effect. I debated it on the floor. I watched who the proponents were, and frankly, I supported it then and I support it now. But we may have some review of it, if you will. You know, this weekend I was with another Jeb, former Governor Jeb Bush, and we were talking about the way things are now, the way the state and the federal government is, and it's a unique time in history. We really do have greater challenges than we've ever had. In many ways, our challenges are not very easily defined, but they are crossroad questions that we have to address. But we also agreed that we have today, more than any other time in history, greater opportunities to meet those challenges. And I really think it just is going to depend on women and men who step up for leadership, who are willing to make the hard decisions, popular or not, to do what's right to move forward, and those who are willing to recognize and adhere to really what the role of government is. And I know in my own political life, oftentimes I have to reflect on my political hero. Sorry, John, you are one, but I'm going to talk about Abraham Lincoln. But who defined the role of government so easily by saying the role of government is to do for those who can't do for themselves or do well for themselves. And that makes sense, whether it's the disabled, children, the homeless, infrastructure needs beyond the community's capabilities. And then the rest of it is stay out of the way. I mean, really, the future of the state is sitting in this room and outside of these walls. What you can do to create and to build and to innovate is going to move us forward. Not anything that I could do in Tallahassee, and certainly not what they could do in Washington. 11 years ago, I stood before you and I made a promise, and I'm going to make it right here, right now again. I will listen to you, not just with my ears, but with my mind and heart. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm happy to.
It's opening up to, we have probably time for like 2 or 3 questions.
Sure. Subjects that are not appropriate are long bar point, the Zimmerman verdict, immigration, no. Did our commissioners leave already? Hopefully they got out on that note.
What is Florida's greatest challenge in this hour, legislatively?
Well, legislatively, I think it continues to be how we address the state from a regulatory standpoint, and how we continue to make sure businesses want to come here, that we're not creating barriers for job creators. And that's a tough balance, because there are needs that we have from conservation standpoint, from making sure that people are not being taken advantage of. But it's really, if we continue to focus on the economic drivers while adhering to that Lincoln principle of protecting those who can't do for themselves, we'll get there. Budget-wise, we're doing better. You know, I just had a conference with my committee staff yesterday, and we were pleased to look at the estimates and where we were going education-wise. We gave even more. We did an additional $22 million for Manatee County last year. I hope to see that number go up a little bit this year.
With the internet sales tax, I know there's been a lot of conversation back and forth today. I guess 2 sort of questions here. One is, since Amazon is now showing up wherever they're going, does that change the conversation? And is it still going on at the Tallahassee?
The conversation continues to occur every time around. The question is, how do you really capture that tax? And it's more of something that requires a federal coalition versus just a state going after it. I mean, we see the same thing in internet gaming, and there are always these initiatives to sort of curtail and regulate and be able to control, but at the same time, you know, it's a very elusive thing to get a hold of.
That's good, that's perfect.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
I know. You have plenty of these, but as state senator, we'll present you
No, I
another Kiwanis
appreciate it.
Golden Rule.
I
Thank you so
appreciate it
much.
very much.
This took a lot of effort to get to this point. And there's so many people to thank, and I could really thank every Kiwanian in this room. I can also thank every board member from the players. I can thank Jeanine Witham. I can thank Dave Grantham, Tom Mosley. There is plenty of people to thank for this historic moment in the club's history. But I just want to make sure that we properly, I'd like those that are involved, the players board, I'd like the club board, I'd like for all to stand and be recognized and give a big round of applause, please. Okay, I'd also like to thank METV for being here and broadcasting this for us. That's always a great thing. I'd also like to thank Lemoyne Johnson. I guess he's having surgery, so he sent Billy here to help take photos today, so we appreciate that. And also, in closing, I gotta thank, and she gets accolades all the time, but she really deserves it. Monday morning, we were at the old hall packing it up with about 6 key clubbers from Manatee High School. I gotta thank Brenda Rogers for everything that she does. Please stand up. And Brenda will agree, I've been carrying around half of Kiwanis stuff in my car up until today. So I've been the mobile Kiwanis group for a while. But thank goodness no accidents and we got here safely. So anyway, thank you again for being here, for all the visitors. I ask that if you would please come back, join us. We got some great speakers. Jeb will be taking over October 1st. I'm looking forward to that day personally. And also to be that past president. So thank you very much for being here. Have a great day, and we will see you next Tuesday, hopefully. We're adjourned.